Chelsea Clinton came out yesterday, though, and she says that President Trump should lay off her mom. I thought this was amusing. Back to back, she said that Ivanka Trump was fair game, and then she said that Trump should lay off Hillary.
What troubles you the most about the state of the country right now? Ooh. And what would you say to the president about it?
Please do your job. Mm-hmm. Focus on your job. Please don't worry about like the Oscar ratings or how my mom's doing, although thank you, she's doing great.
Okay, so don't worry about her mom's doing. The reason people are worried about how Hillary's doing is because, again, there's unprosecuted corruption that went on during the Obama administration, and now that Republicans are in charge, they're investigating. It's sad that they had to do it now. They should have done it more when Obama was president. It's sad that it takes another attorney general to actually appoint the special counsels necessary to look into these issues. But that's because Obama corrupted these agencies first. Okay, if the attorney general had done his job when Obama was president, it wouldn't be left for Republicans to do that job. I like Chelsea saying to Trump, lay off Hillary, but then she says, well, it's fine to launch into Ivanka.
Do you have any sympathy for her? Because she's an adult who has taken on an official role in the White House. Do you think she's fair game for criticism, or is she just another presidential child?
I think anyone who works for the president is certainly should expect to be scrutinized for whatever decisions not only she or he is making, but whatever decisions the White House is making on any given day.
Okay, how about people who work for the Clinton Foundation, which was alleged to be involved in corruption while your name was on it? It's the Bill Hillary and Chelsea Clinton Foundation. How about people who work for their mom's campaign and speak at the DNC? You know, again, the hypocrisy here is pretty astonishing. Chelsea has barely been asked any questions about the corruption of her parents because she's been seen as off limits, but Ivanka apparently is within limits. I think both of them should not be off limits. I think questions should be asked of both of them, and all of that is fine. But the hypocrisy of the media there is pretty astonishing. Hillary Clinton is doing her own book junket. She will not leave. And this is the worst thing in the world for the Democrats because she was such a deeply unpopular candidate that she really lost the election more than Donald Trump won it. And I say that, you know, knowing that Trump may have been the only Republican candidate who could beat her. That's not a rip on Trump. This is just to point out how unpopular Hillary Clinton was. She won fewer votes in Michigan than Donald Trump won fewer votes in Michigan and won the state than George W. Bush won in 2004 in Michigan, and George W. Bush lost the state of Michigan. That doesn't demonstrate a vast Trump movement. It demonstrates everyone dislikes Hillary Clinton. Same thing in Wisconsin. Mitt Romney actually outperformed Donald Trump in Wisconsin in 2012. Mitt Romney lost the state. Trump won the state. Why? No one showed up to vote for this lady. No one showed up to vote for her. So she now comes along, and she is going to give her explanation for why she lost. And naturally, the explanation for why she lost is because everyone is mean to her. It's just the end of the world. Everyone is cruel and mean and vicious. Her book came out yesterday, and apparently it is a heaping pile of garbage. There are amusing parts of it, I will admit. I've read some of the sections of it. I haven't had a chance to pick it up as of yet. It's been a bit of a busy week. And, I mean, frankly, if I can somehow put it off to the point where it becomes irrelevant to the news, that'd be great, because I would not want to spend 4 hours reading her book. But she is blaming everyone. I think my favorite part of this book is there's a quote that came out from her book that is just astonishing, where she just completely misses how it is that the Orwell novel 1984, what it was about. So she actually writes this in her book. Attempting to define reality is a core feature of authoritarianism. This is what the Soviets did when they erased political dissidents from historical photos. This is what happens in George Orwell's classic novel 1984, when a torturer holds up 4 fingers and delivers electric shocks until his prisoner sees 5 fingers as ordered. The goal is to make you question logic and reason and to sow mistrust. For Trump, as with so much he does, it's about simple dominance. So she basically says that the big problem with 1984 is that it's supposed to make you distrust, that Trump's shtick is to make you distrust the press and the authorities, just like in 1984, which is not what 1984 is about. That's about why you should not trust the press and the authorities. The entire book is about not trusting the press and the authorities. But Hillary Clinton is nearly as bad at literary analysis, apparently, as she is at things like running for office. Okay, so here is Hillary doing her shtick. She first of all rips the press. She starts off with, it's the press's fault. It's all the press's fault. They were just mean to me. If they hadn't been so cruel, then I would have won this election.
But I don't think the press did their job in this election, with very few exceptions. So the hard questions about what was real and what was realistic and what could
happen with the right kind of election outcome were never really joined. And so, you know, I found it frustrating, obviously, because I think I could have defended and lifted up a lot of what I believed we could do. But really, Ezra, when you get 32 minutes in a whole year to cover all policy, how does that work?
Okay, so it's all she wanted to talk policy, but the media were just too mean. Now, what's hysterical about this is that essentially what Hillary Clinton is doing is she's saying the entire 2016 election was, wait for it, fake news, right? She's suggesting that the media didn't do their jobs. The media were all part of this evil conspiracy to stop her. Now, I remember when there was a guy named Donald Trump, and he said this all the time and continues to say it all the time. And the media say, how dare Trump? How dare he insult us this way? But Hillary Clinton says the same thing, and they just sit there and take it. Well, she's probably right. You know, maybe we didn't do our jobs this time. Maybe we should have been more sycophantic. The big problem for Hillary Clinton and the Democrats is that the media were so sycophantic during the primaries, they refused to acknowledge what a bad candidate she was. So by the time she was exposed to the light of day, she just withered in the light of day. If the media had been honest about what a terrible candidate she was early on, the chances that she would have not won the nomination would have been exceedingly low. I mean, the media bias is always to the left. The best example of this today, there's an amazing tweet from a guy named Chris Chaliza over at CNN. Sometimes I think Chris Chaliza does some interesting stuff, but he tweeted something today that's just incredible. Here's what he tweeted, quote, "The Today Show did Ted Cruz porn video and Seattle mayor resignation in its first 10 minutes. Banner day for politicians." Okay, why do I bring this up? Because when he says the Today Show did the Ted Cruz porn video and Seattle mayor resignation, you have to understand what those stories are to understand how biased the media is. Hillary says the media are biased against her and Democrats. Okay, that's insane. The Ted Cruz porn video? No, Ted Cruz was not in a porn video. No, Ted Cruz was not caught watching a porn video. One of his interns liked a porn video on his Twitter account that he doesn't even run. Okay, that's the Ted Cruz porn video story that was worthy of Chris Chaliza's tweet. And what is this Seattle mayor resignation story? That's Democrat Mayor Ed Murray of Seattle, who's a garbage mayor. He had to resign because there was a fifth allegation of child molestation against him. Child molestation, okay, allegedly molested 5 kids. Okay, and here he is, Ed Murray resigning. But how is that characterized by Chris Chaliza? As Seattle mayor resignation. Would you get from that he was resigning because of alleged molestation? Is that what you would get from that? If you just read those two phrases, Ted Cruz porn video and Seattle mayor resignation, which one of those do you think would actually include a sex scandal? If you just read those two phrases. The Cruz one, right? But the Cruz thing's a nothing. The Seattle mayor just had to resign. He was, by the way, an up-and-comer in Democratic circles. There was talk about him running for governor of the state of Washington, Ed Murray. He's, I think, the first openly gay mayor of Seattle. He's $15 minimum wage guy in Seattle, progressive hero. Molested, allegedly, 5 children, 5 underage people. And Chris Chaliza characterizes that as Seattle mayor resignation. But no, we're supposed to believe we need some sort of singular standard as to what constitutes appropriate behavior and what does not. Ellen DeGeneres is a lesbian, which means that this is, you know, her acting upon objects of her sexual desire. If a man did the same thing, we would be saying this is totally inappropriate. How dare he? And it doesn't matter that Katy Perry's smiling. It just shows how toxic masculinity has infused everyone. The whole point here is the double standard. And the double standard applies everywhere. Mark Halperin just was essentially fired from NBC News. He said he resigned or took time off to spend more time with his genitals. But in any case, Mark Halperin, the accusations are that he allegedly sexually assaulted up to 5 women, sexually harassed or assaulted up to 5 women, that he would push them up against the wall, grope them, press his genitals against them. This is Mark Halperin, the guy who wrote Game Change, very famous reporter. He's on NBC News every day, has talked about sexual assault in the most indignant of terms. Sexual assault is horrible. Sexual harassment is horrible. And then meanwhile, in the back room, he's grabbing the interns, apparently. This goes to show you also the not only do we have a double standard with regard to people we like, we have a double standard with regard to ourselves. The stuff that we do, we human beings have a unique capacity to do this. We can engage in many of the sins that we condemn other people for. And the mark of a good human being is that you think enough about this to think whether, in fact, you are upholding the standard that you seek to promulgate, that you're upholding the standard that you seek to push. If you're not doing that, then we all need to do better. And I think we can all do better on these scores. But the reason I'm pointing out these 3 differing scenarios, the HW, the Ellen DeGeneres, and the Mark Halperin situations, is because these double standards have been in place for a very long time. And we need to decide as a society what sort of behavior we are willing to accept. I think the behavior should be this. Men do not touch women without their permission. That's the behavior. Right? We're done here. And it's not the same thing if a man asks out a girl to a bar. It's not the same thing if a man says that a girl is beautiful today. It's not the same thing if a man says that that he likes a girl's dress, okay, a woman's dress. Not the same thing at all. We need to make some actual separations here. But instead, what I feel like this has devolved into is now we're just, as usual, conversations in America devolve into who's the victim today. And then we all come out and say, it's terrible that person was victimized. And then we set no standard by which we can determine whether someone is a victim or not until they proclaim themselves a victim, at which point we say they're a victim. Right? So if we had found out the H.W. Bush, Heather Lind thing just through a third-party source, not through Heather Lind, then we would have had to decide as a society, is this something okay or not? She declared that she was offended, therefore it was bad. If she had declared that she was not offended, then it would have been fine. Right? Action is not subjective when it comes to societal standards. It's not subjective. You don't get to decide whether an activity is good or bad for me, right? I, as a member of society, determine whether an activity is good or bad. And I'm getting kind of tired of this routine where something is not harassment so long as I'm not offended, but it is harassment if I am offended. We're going to need to draw some lines if we actually want to enforce those lines. Well, I want to talk a little bit about another story that's pretty devastating.